Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Elite Academy and welcome back to our daily issue analysis Dia. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are enjoying your preparation. And if you're not enjoying, then I must say that start enjoying because without enjoyment, you cannot sustain this process. And over a period of time, you should learn how to enjoy this. And because you have not to only sustain, you have to excel in this exam. Okay. Okay. So let's start with our discussion for the day. So today we are going to discuss about power sector reforms. So power sector, why it is important? Because yes, definitely India is targeting for energy security. We are talking about affordability, accessibility. So that is why also it is important. If we talk strictly from exam point of view, then under GS3 we have infrastructure topic. GS3 main syllabus has infrastructure topic, and power sector is one of the very important infrastructure. So in why it is in news because of the concerns regarding the discoms health. So time to time discoms are being told to improve the revenue, their financial health, be it with the metered sales or minimizing the losses. So because of this, time to time power sector will be in news. Also because of this power tariff revisions and the state of discoms, it has been news since July, August. It was there in news. So we are discussing in this context, okay? And also when we talk about India, India is the third largest producer and the second largest consumer of electricity worldwide. And if we talk about the total installed capacity, so we have total installed power capacity of 401 gigawatt. So 401 gigawatt is our installed power capacity. That too, when we are talking, it is 30th April 2022. So as of 30th April 2022, our installed capacity is 401. And out of that, approx 150 gigawatt is represents the overall renewable energy capacity. So this we have already covered when we were discussing about the wind energy related video is there in Dia. You can check it in the our playlist. And also there is India's climate action. There also we have discussed about. So I have shown it through the help of one image itself, where we have discussed about the total renewable energy capacity and all we have discussed there. Also, if we analyze, so growing, our population is growing, and the electrification is also increasing. Thus, the power per capita usage is further going to increase. Thus, it is expected that the power consumption is estimated to reach 1894. So, somewhere around 1900 terawatt hours in 2022. So, what is the power consumption at present? So, in 2019, the power consumption was 1355 terawatt hours. So from that point of view, be it the power consumption which is going to increase, or India's population which is going to increase, electrification is increasing, and India is the third largest producer and second largest consumer of the electricity, where we have discussed that the our installed power capacity is somewhere around 401 gigawatt. So in this context, let's analyze the power sector reforms. So, in order to understand the power sector reforms, we need to understand the state of discoms. So, distribution companies, what is the status of their health? So, according to Power Ministry, so this is the data which is of Power Ministry. So, according to Power Ministry data, total outstanding dues of discoms as of December 2021 was somewhere around rupees 951 billion. Rupees 951 billion. So this tells you the data about that how much the discoms dues are there. So this shows that what is the status of their financial health. Also, according to the performance, if we analyze, so time to time, the performance of the power distribution companies, it will be analyzed. So there is ratings which is given by based on their financial health will be given. So according to one of the rating, we have this data that their losses widened to around rupees 59 crore in 2021-2022 as compared to the losses which were there in 2019 and 20 was there at rupees 34,500 crore. Now see the huge difference, huge loss. So because of this, it is also making the tariff hikes. It is leading to hike in the tariff because ultimately these losses will be passed on to the consumer. So it is also creating tariff hike, which is not sustainable. So, based on the financial health of the power discom, power distribution companies, recently the Power Ministry has urged the banks to exercise caution while they are giving loans to the state power distribution utilities to avoid any kind of avoid putting any kind of financial risk for the banking system. So, this is the first time that the center has warned the banks expressing concerns about financial position of the distribution companies and potential adverse impact on the banking system. So, literally, a warning has been given. So now you can understand the financial health of the distribution companies. So based on these two data, you should portray the gravity of the problem, be it with respect to the due, be it with respect to the losses or the hike in the tariffs. So you don't need too many data, but these data will help you in understanding or projecting or substantiating your point that what is the actual state of discoms. Okay. Now let's analyze the issues in the power sector, especially the issues related to power generation. So if we analyze historically, there has been an inadequate generation capacity, and it was the key contributor in the power deficit. However, the generation capacity, the power generation has improved over the years in the last few years, and that too due to the high participation of the private sectors. So it is increasing. But over the years, if we analyze, even though the capacity of generating electricity has increased, but the actual generation of electricity has not led to is not in sync with the increased capacity. So what is happening? There is low utilization of generation capacity. Even though the capacity has increased, the utilization is not. Actual generation of electricity is not happening as the increased capacity has happened. So what are the key reasons for the low utilization of generation capacity? So low utilization is there because of the shortage of fuels, especially coal. It is there because of the unviable power purchase agreements. And if we analyze, the coal sector has failed to match the production with the growth in the coal based generation capacity. So, this has created a huge gap between the demand and supply of the coal, because of which, as a result, India's coal import have risen from 59 million tons to 168 million tons. 59 million ton in 2008 2009, and in 2013 and 14 the import was 168 million ton. So that was because there was a mismatch in demand and supply. So these are the issues in power generation. Now let's analyze the issues in power transmission and distribution. Okay, so transmission and distribution losses, if we analyze, they account for 27% of loss of the total electricity which is generated. So we lose 27% of the generated electricity during the course of transmission and distribution. So this is T&D losses. And out of that, at least two-thirds of the distribution losses, they are commercial losses. So whenever we are talking about commercial losses, these are caused by theft or pilferage of power, or due to the lack of metering and poor billing and collection system. So because of that, whatever loss we are encountering, that is commercial loss. So total transmission and distribution loss is somewhere of 27% of the generated electricity, and out of that also two-thirds of the losses are of this commercial in nature. If we analyze the technical losses, they are there. So technical loss is the basically energy lost as a heat when electricity is carried over wires. So this technical loss is happening because of the poor equipment. So because of poor equipments, the losses are increasing. Okay, this is about technical and commercial losses. So if we analyze the supplying of electricity also, so there is a problem of lower tariff. So the overall tariff is lower than the cost to supply, which is along with the delay in tariff revision is leading to problem for the discoms, and thus they are facing the financial losses, whatever we have discussed in the starting. So if we analyze it with the help of data, so in 2013 and 14, the average cost of supplying power was somewhere rupees 5.9 per kilowatt hour, whereas the average tariff was rupees 4.8 kilowatt per kilowatt hour. So can you analyze the difference? We are producing, the cost of supplying is rupees 5.9 per kilowatt hour, but we are distributing it almost 1 rupees 10 paise. The average tariff was lower than the supply cost. So definitely in a longer run, definitely if the scale is more, the it will be a burden for the discom companies. Okay, so on the distribution side, there is a perennial problem of another problem is of perennially because of the inefficient distribution companies. And this is also happening because there is lot of subsidization and cross subsidization which is widely prevalent in the Indian power sector. So if we analyze the subsidization, so you will find that we have a lot of free and highly subsidized power supply is happening in India, especially free power is there being supplied. These are freebies. So we have also discussed one, their topic is there on the freebies in India, and Supreme Court has recently raised concern over the freebies. So that also we have discussed. So if we analyze, you must have read that power comes under the concurrent list. Hence, both an state and central subject. So DISCOMs in almost all the states are run by the respective state governments. Only in some urban areas like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, among others, there are private players who have entered the power distribution business. But otherwise, we have state government run DISCOM companies are there. So a common feature of this distribution policies of the state over a period of time, you will analyze that they provide free or heavily subsidized supply. So in Delhi, to up to 200 units, the electricity is free. For farmers in Punjab, in Tamil Nadu, the power supply is free. So the connection for the farm sectors in Tamil Nadu, they are unmetered in Tamil Nadu, which has been implementing free power supply for the agriculture sector, for the farm sector since 1980s. And they have been long they are resisting the installation of meters even for the fresh connections. So that is the problem when a state is directly involved for the populist measures. So they give waivers, they give free supply during in the bills also, they give a lot of waivers. So all these cumulatively is creating problem or the issues in the transmission and distribution. Okay, now let's analyze the measures which has been taken time to time in order to bring reforms in the power sector. So we have taken this reforms of by bringing the Electricity Regulatory Commission Act. So Electricity Regulatory Commission Act was created in this act came in 1998, and this created central and state level regulators, which was very important for the regulation of the electricity sector. And then this was followed by the Electricity Act 2003, where the focus was it provided for discoms to accept the policy directives from the federal government, and most importantly it enabled the entry of the private sector into power generation. So since because of this act, now private sector or the private players could also become the part of the power generation. Then the schemes like Accelerated Power Development Program was introduced, and the focus was that this scheme will focus on the urban loss reduction. So basically, it was an urban loss reduction scheme. Then we had PM Saubhagya, so where the target was that the rural connections and the network expansion will be focused through this scheme. Then we had Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana and Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. So this Uday scheme became very popular, and this was during the Honorable Prime Minister Modi's regime, uh, and it aimed for financial turnarounds in order to manage the Discom losses. So this Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana was launched in order to improve their operationability or reducing the cost of generation of power for discoms, along with their development of renewable energy, and improvement on the energy efficiency and conservation. So these keywords are very important whenever we are talking about energy efficiency or reduction of the cost of power generation, operational improvement, financial turnaround. So these are important when you will read the economic survey. So if you have habit of reading the economic survey every year, then you will come across the this infrastructure chapter where power sector, so they talk about energy efficiency. So every year from 2018 I have been teaching economic survey as well. So such observations they become very important, and especially every year this data will be updated by economic survey. So that analysis becomes very important along with the data. Okay, and the recent addition with respect to the steps which has been taken is reforms based result linked scheme. So a reform based and results linked scheme, it was announced by cabinet gave approval for revamping the distribution sector, and it was done in 2021 last year June. So the scheme basically it seeks to improve the again operational efficiencies and financial sustainabilities of all the discoms, the power departments, excluding the power sector discoms. Okay, so here the focus is on providing conditional financial assistance to the discoms so that they can strengthen their supply infrastructure. We were talking about their capacity, so it is focusing on improving their financial sustainability by providing financial assistance so that they can strengthen their supply infrastructure. Okay, so this is with respect to the this scheme. We are going to discuss in detail about this reforms based result linked scheme. Okay, so if we talk about this reforms based result linked scheme, so here it is talking of reduction of AT&C losses. Basically, it is the full form is aggregate technical and commercial losses. So the objective is to reduce these losses to pan India levels of to reduce it by 12 to 13 or 12 to 15% by 2024 2025. Okay, so this is one of the target, and we discussed that it was approximately 23% of the total electricity generated. And the scheme is also focusing on strengthening of the institutional capacities for the modern discom. We saw that for that the scheme has a provision of for providing financial help. Okay, and then it is also talking about improvement in the quality, reliability, affordability of the power supply to consumers through financial sustainability. So financial sustainability will be given, it will be focused upon, operational efficiency will be focused upon of the distribution sector. Thus the overall quality, reliability and affordability will improve. And here the major focus is being given on that the every state has their own power discom companies are there. So it will be the action plan will be based will be separately worked out for every different states, and it will be not a one size fits all approach. So that is the objective. And the scheme is providing for annual appraisal of the discom performance. So discom companies which whosoever will be performing, there will be predefined and agreed performance trajectories, or the parameters will be there. Based on that the discom's performance will be annual appraisal will happen. So that is there is a provision for that also. And the scheme is giving a major focus or the major importance on improving the electricity supply for the farmers, and for providing daytime electricity to them through solarization of agriculture feeders. So that is also one of the objective. And this scheme what else, improving the electricity supply for the farmers, and it is also focusing on improving the consumers empowerment. The consumer empowerment, how it is being focused upon by way of prepaid smart metering, which will be implemented in PPP mode, that is public private partnership mode. So that way also consumer will get empowered. So that is the objective, or the parameters or the objectives of the scheme. So that's why I wanted to discuss it in detail. So whenever you are writing, write these specific points, then only your analysis, then only your observation or your answers will become specific and meaningful. If you simply write that reform based results linked scheme has been launched in order to improve the performance of the discoms, then it is not going to add value. So this is very important as a writing tip, that whenever you are writing, write a specific, then only you can think of excelling. Okay, otherwise it will be general point only. So we have discussed about the issues, we challenges, and what all steps has been taken. In order to make it more sustainable, we should know the way forward for the power sector reforms. What all should be done. So we have already discussed about the technical and commercial losses, how high they are in India. So discoms, they need to improve the commercial losses by improving the billing efficiency. So that is possible when the high billing will be possible through metering. So government recently, central government has come up with a scheme to achieve 100% metering using the prepaid or the smart meters, which is definitely a right step in the right direction. Okay, so this will help in reducing the commercial losses. In order to reduce the technical losses, we have already discussed that poor equipments are there. So as much as possible, investment should be done in improving the overall infrastructure, the grid infrastructure, so that the technical losses will be reduced. And on one hand, if the discoms, they improve their distribution infrastructure, so technical losses will improve in timely manner if they focus. So this will sustain the high billing. If more and more people are brought under the ambit of billing and reducing the power theft, so the overall commercial losses will be reduced if the collection efficiency and high billing is addressed. So if technical losses are both the technical losses and the commercial losses, they should be handled together parallelly. Okay, then only they will be able to sustain it. Okay, so this is first way forward. Second, we should talk about the power purchase cost. So basically what happens whenever any discom is there, they will have this long term and expensive power purchase agreements with the power generators, so whosoever is generating the power. Okay, but most of the time they will have lock in period. They will the purchase agreements, they will be fixed at a particular cost, and sometimes it will be very expensive, which contributes to the power tariff, contributes significantly to the power tariff. Okay, but now what is happening, these because of the problems, because of the subsidies, the overall tariff, the final tariff which the power discoms receive, or the money which they receive, is very less. So in those cases, these power purchase agreements, the cost becomes, it will be not feasible. Okay, so wherever it is feasible, discom should be given an option to exit such expensive and long term PPAs, that is power purchase agreements. Then only they will be able to take decisions judiciously based on that what is favoring them. So let's say in future it might be possible that discoms, if they are enabled by the advanced metering or smart metering or the smart grid, it would be possible that they would be able to reduce their power purchase cost also. So they are buying at some cost, they are supplying at different cost, so there is a mismatch. We have already discussed that how with the help of data we have seen earlier that the selling of per unit per kilowatt hour is rupees 4 approx, and they are generating the electricity at rupees 5, so there is a 1 rupee difference. So they need to reduce this power purchase cost, that difference, that gap, they need to reduce it. In order to that, they should have a position, they should be in a position to leave or exit this power purchase agreements, which have long duration of lock-in period and expensive, and they sometimes become expensive for the discount. So there should be a provision of revisiting them, so that based on the scenario, based on the market, based on the capacity, also decision can be taken. Next, we should also discuss about the conducive, conductive regulatory environment. So, what happens? The tariffs, they will be not regularly revised, and we have a state electricity regulatory commission (SERC) in every state. So, time to time, these tariffs should be regularly revised so that they can fairly reflect the actual cost. Okay, and for long-term viability of the power sector, the regulatory functions should be insulated from the political pressure. So what happens? These regional electricity regulatory commissions, they will have political interferences, and because of that, the overall growth or the long-term growth of the power sector of that state or the discoms will be affected. So these regional electricity regulatory commissions, along with the participation of like central government, will be a welcome step. It will help in improving, because there will be power. We discussed that anyways it is there in the concurrent list. So if central government is playing some role, then we can expect some uniformity. Otherwise, the regional biases or the regional interferences will be always there. Also, we have seen that a lot of subsidies will be given by the state governments, and that subsidies will be not is not being passed. The money, there is delay in receiving the subsidy reimbursements from the state governments. It is not reaching to the discoms, so it adds further to the financial stress for the discoms. Okay, we have discussed that the outstanding dues of the subsidies to state power discoms, it has increased, and it has increased up to rupees 71,000 crore. So what is required? Timely disbursement of the timely payment of the subsidy. It will further improve the overall cash flow situation or the financial situation of the discoms. So this is another step should be taken. Next, we should talk about the more private sector participation in order to improve the competition in distribution. So in Delhi, we know that there are two players. Tata is there, and BACS, basically it is run by Reliance, so they are there. So, and often they are cited as the model of successful privatization. In fact, the billing and collection efficiency, that is, we are talking about the commercial aspects, the billing and collection efficiencies of discoms in Delhi are above 91% for Tata Power and 99.5% for BACS, respectively. So, this is leading to an aggregate, the transmission and commercial loss has further come down to 8 to 9%. Though Delhi distribution, we cannot say that it should be representative for all the states or for rest of the country, but yes, we can experiment it. We can, particularly for urban and industrial areas, such private sector model can be tested, which will which is going to improve, or the overall turnaround in the sector can be improved by testing this model. So this can be also a very good way forward for urban and industrial areas. Next way forward is related to, we need to improve the overall cash flow, the reduction in the debt, and interest burden on the Descom company. So what happens that there is increasing regulatory assets, which is creating a cash flow gap for the Discom sector. So what is this regulatory asset? So regulatory asset is, it includes those costs which is related to energy efficiency programs or the low income energy assistance programs or the deferred fuel cost, which will be not added to the overall tariff. So because of these time to time, these things, the low income energy assistance program or the deferred fuel cost, it is not added, it is not reflected to the tariff. When it is not reflected to the tariff, it creates problem. So what happens basically, in the act which we have, Electricity Act 2003, under that regulatory assets are recoverable expenditure of the discoms through, and that is possible through revision of the tariff, and it can be passed on to the consumer. It can be passed on the consumer, but they are deferred and they are kept separate by these state electricity regulatory commissions, and it is not passed to, not on to the consumer, to ensure that there will be low power rates. So time to time, what happens, the for the populist measures, populist policies, the state governments, they announce that power will be less. Delhi government is saying that it will be free. So the regulatory assets, they will be not passed on to the consumers. So if it has to be overall passed, then the tariff revision has to be done. And we have seen that the regulatory commissions, lot of interference is there from the political forces, means the executive, the government, political interference is there, because of which they are not allowing the tariff revision. And if tariff revision is not happening, then the cost of the regulatory asset year by year it is increasing and it is not being passed on to the consumer. So in it has been, it is one of the problem that regulatory assets are not being capitalized. If it is done, then it will help in improving the cash flow, reduction in the debt and the interest burden, and it will also help in the realistic revision of the tariffs. Hope you understood this point. So this point is very important. Here we are talking about regulatory assets. So do check about regulatory assets. What is a regulatory asset? Okay, so this is about this. Then we should also talk about one important committee. It was a Shunglu committee recommendation. So basically, the Shunglu committee was there in 2011. It was there formed to suggest the reforms. So why I have mentioned it here, even though it is one decade old committee, here it is because this committee gave lot of recommendation with respect to the regulators. So this committee told that the state government should not have major say in filling the key vacancies in the these state electricity regulatory commissions, so that their independence will be protected. And even it felt that the delegation of the financial autonomy should be done to the regulators. It will maintain their independence, functional independence. Okay, and also, it suggested tightening of the eligibility criteria, selection process, to prevent the state government from filling the key vacancies in the regulatory commission with the officials of compromised integrity. So, are you understanding what is happening here? Shunglu committee recommendation is basically why I am discussing it here, so that the regulatory reforms commissions are sorry, these state electricity regulatory commissions are there. So in there, in the selection or for their independence, what all reform is required, we can take the help of the Shunglu committee. Okay, so that financial independence is maintained, functional independence is maintained, and they should the state government should not have a major say in filling the key vacancies. So that's why we are talking about the Shunglu committee. So this is all with respect to this topic. Hope this topic was very crucial, and we have discussed very few key concepts under this topic. So this will help you in understanding the overall state of the discoms, power discoms. What is their financial status? Why reform is required? What all steps has been taken in the past, but still the losses, the transmission and the commercial losses, the technical and the commercial losses are high, and what all steps can be taken through this way forward. Okay, so this is it with today's video. Hope you all had good time, good understanding, and the notes of this video will be shared in our Telegram channel. So till then, take care and bye bye. Take care of your studies. See you all.